Hi everyone, it's Miriam with a Y. So I want to work with my favorite colors today. I want to work with teal, yay. So like a little purple, some blue, and I kind of want to embellish it, so I pulled out some white pens, some markers. I don't know what I'll use. Well, you guys already know what I ended up making because you saw the title, but at this point of the game, I don't know what I'm making, but let's see what I end up doing. Well, you, like I said, you know, but I don't know yet. So, let's just do this. For my substrate, I'm using a piece of Grafix opaque white craft plastic that I've cut to 8 by 10 inches. For the inks, I've pulled out 2 of Jacquard's new Piñata colors, blue violet and teal. And I'm also using my new favorite blue, Marabu's Gentian. It is such a perfect, pretty blue. I've thinned all of my inks with 99% isopropyl alcohol. Depending on the color and the concentration of the color, I will add anywhere from 1 to 3 milliliters of ink to as much as 10 milliliters of alcohol, depending also on the size of the little bottle. These little guys are 10 mils and the smallest one is a 5 mil. I'll also be using straight isopropyl alcohol too. This is a 50 milliliter bottle, by the way, if it helps to picture the size. To blow air, I'll use this hot air dryer. It is light, easy to maneuver, and it blows less air than a regular dryer. And the low air setting is usually more than enough for doing sort of the wispy look. Now, if you're using Yupo instead of Grafix, you may be better off spending a few dollars more for one of these dryers with the cool setting option. This one doesn't have that. I will link both versions in the description box below. Okay, I'm starting out with Gentian. It's thinned down, but I'm still surrounding it with alcohol too, to get soft outer edges. I'm okay with some dark lines forming on the inside of this piece though. I like those for interest and contrast. Now for some teal. I really like this new addition to the Piñata line. Not just because it's teal, which is my favorite color, but because it's just a good addition to the line. To soften the edge, I'm adding a touch of alcohol again, and then moving to the other side to add some blue violet. Also a good addition to the line, because this purple is a cool purple as opposed to the warmer, redder passion purple. So now we've got 2 good purples in the Piñata line. Okay, we've got 3 very pretty colors down. We can stop here. And there may be times when I want to do just that. This isn't one of those though. So let's mess around and see what trouble we can get into. Well, as it turns out, a lot of trouble, because I was not loving most of what I did here. I honestly should have left the teal alone, but I was thinking playing is more fun, so, you know. And also, I know that since this is graphics paper, I can wipe this entire painting off, go back down to the white, and start all over again. But I decided to make this about not giving up. Well, entirely. Though I wanted to a lot. I just ended up taking out the teal, though, and redid that because I had pretty much butchered this section. I had no plan yet, which is part of the problem, except to not make little bubbles since I did that in the video right before this one. So I thought I should do something different. Then, while redoing the teal and blue area, an accidental drop of alcohol started to bloom. And with it came an idea. So I added a few more drops of alcohol here and there. I wiped away extra ink with a piece of tissue wet with alcohol to give all four sides a balanced look. All different, like each side was different, but hopefully balanced. To better round out the white clearings the drops of alcohol had made, and to start giving those clearings some color, I used a micro brush, damp with alcohol. Not wet, because if it was too wet, it would bloom too much, but damp enough to clean up the periphery of each circle and also pick up some color that I could spread around inside each of the circles. Next, I pull out some alcohol markers. My plan is now to make a bit of a galaxy nebula-like scene. So I wanted to make the cloudy appearance associated with many nebulas. First, I wanted some bright edge highlights to frame that light center in the middle of the painting. Now, I could do this with the colorless blender marker that most alcohol marker sets come with, or with a very light color marker, which I chose to do in this case. A damp micro brush can work for this too. You just want something that's not going to let the alcohol bloom and get away from you as you wipe away some color like this. Now, keep in mind that at this point, I kind of know how I'd like this to look, but I don't really know how I'm getting there. I have no real plan on execution yet. I just kind of have an image in my head. Now, I wanted to remove more color here, or so I thought, and I switched over to a water brush filled with isopropyl alcohol. It seems to be getting me where I want, but then I start hating it. So I decide to kind of step back, and add the beginnings of some stars to see if I could start getting what I want. Oh, and what would have helped, like a lot, was pulling out some reference photos. But oh no, I was winging it. So I thought, no, I can do this from the top of my head. Yeah, silly rabbit. Okay, I'm using a white pit pen here because the ink dries a little translucent on alcohol inks, so it will make perfect light halos around some of the stars. You know, that soft glow that you'll see when you're looking up at a star? I'll use a Posca paint pen later for the bright white centers. The first suggestion of stars makes me happy, so I start to work on the planets. I'm just going for simple, mostly solid colors. Nothing too busy, like I'm not going to put in land masses and everything, or that sort of Jupiter look that some planets have, but I'm just going to keep things just solid. I use alcohol markers in the same colors as my nebula. I'll change up the color of each planet so that it stands out against the nebula color that's happening behind it, so that they'll pop better. And I'm also giving each planet a highlight facing the bright center of the painting. And now I'm really starting to like this. So I decide to tackle the cloudy look again. But this time, I pull out a favorite tool for that. When we paint with alcohol inks on a non-porous surface, the dry ink ends up just really sitting on top of that surface because it can't soak into it since the surface is non-porous. So the inks can be scratched away. Sometimes they can be accidentally scratched away, but here I'm doing it with a purpose. I'm using a dull X-Acto blade that lets me get pretty precise lines, and I can make them brilliant white by scratching deep enough to really get all the ink up. Honestly, I love this process, which is why I think I should try scratch art at some point. You know, when you do that scratching on a black surface that's got white underneath. They've got special paper just for that. I should try that. Okay, I digress. Defining the cloudy shapes is much easier for me this way. And I am really digging this piece now. If you are liking it too, I'd love to have you subscribe for more videos like this and click on the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Your thumbs up also lets me know to share more tutorials, possibly nutty ideas, etc. with you. So let me know. Happy with the cloudy highlights, I go back to the planets. And since I'm working on Grafix synthetic paper, I can use colored pencils. Therefore, I'm adding pencils to the mix. They're easier for this task of gradually shading the planets and slightly altering their colors, because the pencils can be blended and they can go over thinned ink and still have like a translucent quality about them. So they won't block out the color underneath. They'll add to the color underneath. It's kind of cool. And the reason this works is because there's a slight tooth to the graphics paper. This is true of Yupo too. Now the pencils won't work over full strength ink because that's too shiny when it dries. But thinned ink is pretty thin and kind of sits in the tooth of the paper without completely filling it in. I hope that makes sense. To add really bright highlights to the planets, I use my trusty scratching method again. I think those highlights really bring the planets to life. Tell me in the comments if you think so too. I love reading your opinions, by the way. Pretty satisfied with the planets, it's time for all the stars. I make some more glowing halos first with the Pit Pen so that there will be some variety in size and brightness of our little white dots. Then for the brighter, more opaque white, I go with a Posca paint pen. And I start with a starburst-like thing peeking out behind this planet. I kind of thought that would look a little fun. Here and there, some starbursts are fun to throw in. It really adds a little bit of interest if you're going to do like a galaxy type painting. They're also a great way to hide any kind of boo-boos you may have, or if you have an area that looks a little, I don't know, not quite in line with everything else. So starbursts are nice and bigger so they can really hide stuff. For the center, I make a tighter star cluster. And then I look to see where I can lighten spots by adding some white dots, like where there's a little bit too much concentration of ink and it's sort of standing out more than I want it to. Adding a couple of stars on it kind of knocks it down a little bit and brightens it up. And then I look for any blemishes that can be hidden by a star here or there. And then I can call this one done. I'll seal it with Camar varnish, and if I want added protection, I can also spray a layer or two of UV protection on top of the Camar. I do the Camar first because that doesn't move the alcohol inks. Other sprays can. This painting was a little dicey at times, but I definitely like how it turned out, and I really hope you do too. Tell me in the comments what you think. Would you have stopped earlier, or would you have made something completely different? I'd love to hear what you think. Also, check in the description box for links for everything I used and for ways to participate in keeping this channel going. Thanks for being the best viewers. I am grateful for all of you. Let your creative nature shine. See you soon. Bye now.